Oh man, the bad news just keeps on coming. What's going on, guys? Happy Monday and welcome to your WWE Raw review for January 29th, 2024. We are 2 days removed from this past Saturday's WWE Royal Rumble, where we did see Cody Rhodes victorious in that men's Rumble. But the big story of the day was that CM Punk suffered a torn triceps in that Royal Rumble, and he is out of WrestleMania, will require surgery, and is going to be gone for several months. So as if WWE's bad news last week wasn't bad enough, we've dealt with a lot in the past 7 days here with the Vince McMahon lawsuit, trying to unpack all of that. Rock joining the TKO board of directors, Raw's deal with Netflix, then into the Royal Rumble, trying to process that along with the Vince stuff and how Vince's lawsuit is going to affect the creative plans, such as Brock Lesnar not being in the Royal Rumble, that affecting a little bit of what they were going to do for WrestleMania. But for the most part, they were probably going to still be okay for that show. But then 2 weeks ago, Seth Rollins suffered an injury on Raw, and his status is a little bit iffy for WrestleMania, even though he's probably going to be okay. And now WWE gets hit with the CM Punk injury, and that timing couldn't be worse there. CM Punk's timing couldn't be worse, considering this is his third injury, in just a couple of years. Another triceps injury, had the same thing in AEW, along with that ankle thing that he had going on. And I, for one, was really looking forward to a CM Punk presence at WrestleMania, because after what we saw last week with him and Cody Rhodes setting up that matchup whenever that might happen, just the tease of that was just, really exciting. Really makes you glad that CM Punk is in the company with all the great matches that he can have. A couple of weeks ago, face-to-face with Drew McIntyre as well. He's already laid groundwork with Seth Rollins, and the assumption was that we were going to see CM Punk still get that match against Seth Rollins, perhaps winning the Elimination Chamber, which he may have spoiled in his promo tonight. He did mention the Chamber and his hope to go there and earn that shot, which might indicate that is, in fact, going to be their plan once Cody makes his official decision. Adam Pearce and maybe Nick Aldis come together and make a joint Raw and SmackDown Elimination Chamber to face Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. That's my guess now, but really anything is possible. Now, luckily for WWE, this is not going to be a repeat of WrestleMania 32. WrestleMania 32, they were plagued by injuries. That was a very weak WrestleMania from what I remember. But WWE, it is a good thing that they have a deep bench right now. They really do. I mean, if they were ever in a position to weather the storm of a bunch of catastrophic injuries or absences from WrestleMania, this really is the year to do it. I am as bummed as anybody else about CM Punk, for sure. But I feel like based on what the talent WWE still has and the overstars that they still have and how many different directions they could pivot to, I'm not too worried about the quality of WrestleMania 40. I'm just, overall, I'm just really disappointed that this happened to CM Punk. And you have to wonder, at 45 years old and straight edge and somebody who doesn't, put any chemicals in his body to help him out, your body breaking down, and he's had struggles even in AEW, injury-prone type of stuff. And when he first came back, and we were talking about that, it was either in my Survivor Series review or maybe the very next video, one of the first things I said about CM Punk in WWE is that he has to stay healthy. And that's going to be crucial for him to have this final run, this last couple of years in the ring, and finish his legacy in his career on the right track, and being healthy was going to be a big part of that. And now he gets injured again. And we're going to talk about his promo tonight. One thing I have to commend CM Punk about is that even when he's hurt, when he's heartbroken, and when he's injured, he can still cut a promo and inspire a motherfucker like no other. That was tremendous. Tremendous emotion, tremendous realism from Punk tonight, literally tearing up during his promo. And then the little stuff with Drew McIntyre was nice because it set up a direction for Punk when he comes back. He even said as much in his promo: when I come back, I'm coming after you. And that guy might very well be World Heavyweight Champion by the time Punk does come back. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm smelling a McIntyre and Punk SummerSlam match for the title. The only problem with that is, if you're WWE, do you really want to make championship plans for CM Punk? He has not proved himself. And I think maybe taking that 10 years off was a big mistake, because his run in AEW had a couple of injuries, couple of layoffs there. And now in WWE, again, injured immediately. And it just sucks because, Punk is so valuable as a character. He's so valuable on the mic. He's so good at cutting a promo. Could you imagine if Punk was 10 years younger right now? Or maybe he didn't miss all that time. And now I feel like just when he's as good as ever in terms of his presence and what he can say and his mic ability and telling stories, that is at the top of his game. But physically, not so much. And that's a big bummer because I wanted Seth Rollins and CM Punk at Mania. I wanted that. And even if we didn't get Punk and Rollins at Mania, we would get Punk and somebody at Mania. And you know what? I'm kind of hoping that Punk can still have a presence there. I mean, it's just an arm and a sling. It's not like he can't walk, so have him on the show. Have him do something, guest commentary, or I don't know, cost Drew a match or something. I don't know. Just having him there might be kind of cool, but it's a bummer though, and it's not really the best start to such a milestone WrestleMania season. WrestleMania 40 should be a big deal. It's bad enough we got the black cloud of the Vince McMahon lawsuit and scandal hanging over our heads right now, which is still in the process of being dealt with, and there's still a lot of internal uncertainty in WWE right now. We don't know how many of these people are going to have jobs, and we're going to have an update on that here later, a little report from PW Insider today with some what the rumblings are internally in WWE and how Ari Emanuel and other heads of TKO might not be done ridding WWE of anything Vince McMahon related. So, and plus we saw the scrum, the presser on Saturday night after the Royal Rumble where Triple H fielded questions from three people who I have a lot of respect for on social media, John Alba and Brandon Thurston and Cameron, and they danced around everything. They couldn't answer it, which is not really that surprising, but when you're asked direct questions, give me examples, and you just can't say anything, it's makes everything pretty obvious, that they've been instructed, don't say shit. We're in the middle of this. We got to weather this storm first. I'm surprised they didn't issue some big statement prior to the scrum before then and just referred back to that, but they actually let people ask questions, and we didn't really learn anything on Saturday night, which I didn't really think we would anyway, but none of that stuff really helped. WWE and the perception of them, there's been a lot of talk about that this week as well. WWE's response, and with all the complaints about wrestling journalism these days, that's one thing you can't complain about this time because everybody out there asks questions. You can only ask questions to whoever's up there. You should ask Nick Khan and these guys. I'm like, well, they weren't there. Triple H was, and that's who got asked. So along with Cody Rhodes. And it did put a thought in my head today, and I was just wondering about this. I didn't even think about this until today. Let me know if you agree. Another reason why CM Punk might not have won the Royal Rumble is because if he did, he would have had to be a part of that scrum. And it would have been his first media scrum since Brawl Out, right? And when and if you're going to do that, it's already a big deal to have CM Punk part of a presser to begin with for the first time since whenever. But also combine that with the Vince McMahon lawsuit just a couple of days before, it would have been CM Punk getting that question. Think about it. Cody won the Rumble, right? And he was asked about the situation. I think Nick Hausman was the one that asked Cody about that. Punk would have been asked by Nick Hausman. Think about that. Wasn't it Nick Hausman? I think it was Nick that initially asked the first question, and that was to Cody, I believe. And then Triple H was asked questions from John and from Cameron and from Brandon. But I think Nick Hausman asked Cody. So could you imagine if it would have been Punk there? Who asked the question that sparked the whole fucking Brawl Out thing to begin with? It was Nick Hausman, I believe, right? So that would have been just crazy. Plus, the severity, the seriousness of the Vince McMahon story, you can't really make too many jokes. And I think if CM Punk would have been a part of that scrum, the muffin jokes wouldn't have gotten over. He could have made some funny... They could have made light of the whole situation if Punk would have been a part of the scrum, but that really wasn't going to be possible with the Vince McMahon stuff. And I'm just wondering if any of that played a role in who WWE decided. Because Cody winning the Rumble is not really who we thought it was going to be. Cody facing Roman is what we thought would happen, but we kind of thought maybe the Rumble would go to somebody else. And maybe that was the plan until WWE got to thinking, well, shit, we can't have Punk win the Rumble because if he does, then he's going to be at the scrum and then he's going to be the one to ask questions about Vince and, and all that disgusting shit. So maybe Cody, who is going to be our face of the company anyway, is the best one to field maybe that first question, because if you notice, Cody was the first one out there. Oh, wait, no, maybe Bayley was, but Cody was out there after that. So That was just something I thought about today. That when I look back in my predictions, I predicted CM Punk. But if I would have thought about that whole scrum thing and combined that with the Vince, I don't think I would have picked him. It kind of made sense to me after the fact. But yeah, exactly, Sean. It's like if Punk would have won, then he would have been there like Cody was. And so that might have also played a role. And like I said in my predictions and all during Royal Rumble, the cool thing about both of the Rumble matches is that you can still get both matches that you want at WrestleMania if you use the Elimination Chamber to determine the other challengers. So really, creatively, WWE does have wiggle room there. They're not booked into a corner. They really just have to book the winners the best way, and just having Cody wins 2 years in a row, I guess, was easier for them than him then going into the chamber and winning it that way. Plus, if you're going to say at the Royal Rumble, the winner gets a chance to main event WrestleMania, you should think that might mean night 2. And if Punk won the Rumble and then challenged Rollins, you would think Punk and Rollins would want that night 2 spot. Although we've yet to see the talent bickering about which night they're going to be on. But at some point, you do have to think about that. There is only really, truly one main event of WrestleMania, and that's the final match on night 2. And you can make it up other ways. Oh, you main event on night 1. Yes, I suppose. But there's only one true, real main event of that whole show, and that's going to be the final night on night 2, which probably does make more sense that Cody won, looking back in retrospect. But the Punk stuff did make me wonder. I'm heartbroken for CM Punk. It's been a roller coaster of emotions for the Punk himself, plus the fans, and our thoughts on him, and the mistakes he made in AEW and the things we held him accountable for in AEW and his part and role in all of that. But at the same time, seeing him back in WWE, seeing him happy, seeing the fans happy, seeing the excitement that he brought in, you can't help but get caught up in that and want the best for him. And it was really heartbreaking listening to his promo tonight, especially when he brought up his friend, I believe Chad, who's been battling cancer. And I think that's Punk's, coping mechanism too. I've even found myself doing that. Sometimes when something happens to you that you're really pissed about, or is just a really, really bummer or bad luck, you just got to think that there's always somebody that has it worse. And Cody and Punk said, hey, this is just a flesh wound. There's people dealing with cancer. There's people, on death's door here. And, I've done the same thing. I totaled my car a couple years ago and I was just all distraught. And I'm like, well, shit, I wasn't hurt. It wasn't my fault. Insurance is buying me another car. All it is really is an inconvenience, and a little bit scary that it happened. At the end of the day, people are, have died and are injured and are dealing with so many other bigger inconveniences in life, and just try to appreciate what you have type of thing, and try to find any, positives or silver lining or motivation in, whatever negative happens to you. And with Punk, his situation was a lot different because now he's got to be getting in his own head with these injuries and stuff. But then again, we saw Cody Rhodes come into the company, and what happened to him? Immediately injured. And he worked through that Hell in the Cell with a torn pec, but that put him out longer than CM Punk's even going to be out. So hopefully Punk can just be back by the summertime. We get him back by June or July, Money in the Bank-ish, and SummerSlam. And Punk winning the Money in the Bank now, you have to wonder if he would be a good candidate for that. So basically tonight, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to follow up a little bit too on the Vince McMahon stuff. We're going to talk about Punk's injury, and we're going to talk about Cody Rhodes and his promo tonight with Seth Rollins and Monday Night Raw in general. So welcome to your Raw review. Hello in the chat. Let me say hi to you guys. Also, do me a favor. Thumbs up button, please smash it. If you are not a subscriber to this channel, I would love you to become one. We are trying to get to 50,000 subscribers. That is our next plateau, and we're on the road right now to 41,000. So let's get there soon, and then we'll head to that big old 50K. Let me say hello to people in the chat, knock out any super chats that may be in here, and say hello to the channel members, and then we will get going. I'm also going to do a refresh here so I can see how many people are here and how many people are watching. Right on. There we go. Good to see JJ Leg. Wow, we got a small, good audience, but not a ton of channel members making noise in the chat right now. We got Victor Colon is here as well. I see my boy Zach, and I see my friend George Morris chiming in with the $5. Thanks, dude. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? And how is Tito? Why is Sensational Sherry and Earthquake on Dark Side of the Ring Season 5? What was dark about them? Sherry had a drug problem. Sherry, I can definitely see a dark side on her. However, John Tenta will probably be more on the sad side. I think John got sick. I think he had cancer, but he was not. I don't know much about his personal life, but I never really remembered any negative stories. You certainly don't hear any crazy road stories about the guy, beating up 8 people in a bar, or something like that. So I think his situation might be more, dark side, like, died too young, because they did this similar thing, right? Who did they do one on that was kind of like that? Maybe not Bam Bam, because Bam Bam had some darkness. I'm not really sure. But the new Dark Side of the Ring should be out soon. 10 episodes, I think, this time. A lot of good episodes, and should be interesting this year with this season. Thank you, George, as always, for that $5. Michael Cuomo's here as well. Let me circle back and hit the Juliet and Max Pokebra right on. Some more representing channel members. And Population 420 dropping in 99 cents. Ching! That's that Okada coin drop, right? And now I definitely feel like we got to see Okada in WWE and WrestleMania, considering how they have lost some big names for this thing. Everybody else who was here, like Clone Force, Jay Lambo, Joseph Ben, Green P, Ajax, Sonic Plays. We have Seventh Season, Ceramic Creations, Vash Starwind, Doug Unfunny. Simply the Best is here. Tony is here. I think I got almost everybody. Nate Dogg, Stephen Harris, Decimania, Zoran Hropik. Good to see you, man. Traveled to USA for Full Gear 2022. Punk missed due to tricep injury. Bought tickets to the Chamber in Perth, and Punk misses another torn tricep. Oh my God, that sucks, man. I feel so horrible for you. That's really fucked up. Yeah, because he missed Full Gear, and now he's going to miss again. Oh, that really sucks, man. Maybe he'll show up there. I mean, he is advertised for the show. Maybe they'll still have him there. Just, I don't know. It just depends. It depends on if WWE wants to use Punk while he's injured for his presence and promo ability and things like that. They could still do, or if they just say, get better, come back when you're healed. I don't know. Injuries suck, Denny Downbad. I agree totally. Good to see Harry Rice and Big J and Deshaun Robinson, another channel member, chiming in. Good to see you guys. I actually have a beer open tonight. Which is crazy because I drank on Saturday during the stream, and then I drank yesterday during the Lions game, which we lost. I really wanted Lions and Chiefs. I wanted an Eminem and Taylor Swift duet on SNL the night before the Super Bowl. But unfortunately, the Chiefs won, which I'm happy about, but the Lions lost, and it's kind of their coach's fault. So, sad Greg. But, oh well, go Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But I figured I would just crack open another one, sip on it as I talk to you guys on this beautiful Monday evening. 76 degrees it was here in San Diego today. Not a cloud in the damn sky. It was great. So the weather was great, but the news was bad. And we'll talk more about the Vince McMahon stuff later. I think we should start with Monday Night Raw. Now, I had only been awake for a little while today, and I checked my phone, was starting to get my plans in my head about tonight's Raw review, getting my errands done on Monday, how I'm gonna spend my day. And I see the tweet. I don't remember who broke it first. I think it was Meltzer that had reported that Punk apparently suffered an injury at the Royal Rumble. It was believed to have happened on the Future Shock DDT from Drew McIntyre. We were watching it live here on the watch party. I wasn't paying a ton of attention, focus so much on it because we're talking in the chat, but I remember the DDT, and I didn't really see how Punk reacted to it, but I guess that's where the injury happened. And then a couple of hours went by, and it wound up being corroborated and confirmed that not only was the injury story correct, but they even know what it is, and it's going to be a torn triceps. Shortly after that, Triple H tweeted out that CM Punk would be opening tonight's Monday Night Raw to address the WWE Universe. So he was going to come out and address his injury, and the first hour tonight was commercial-free. So that meant we were either going to get, maybe a miracle or a swerve, or this is just all part of some storyline, or CM Punk was going to come out there and tell us that he was going to have to leave and rehab for a little while. And that's pretty much what happened. Raw opened up. Of course, they did a big recap of the Royal Rumble. And that's when before CM Punk came out to the ring, Pat McAfee came out to the ring. So Pat McAfee had a full entrance. Michael Cole was at the announce booth by himself. He was joined by Pat McAfee. And Cole announced that McAfee would be the permanent announcer now for Monday Night Raw going forward, but I think the way he worded it sounded like it's not like permanent, it might just be through WrestleMania or something, or up until college football starts again. And I guess that means, I don't know where Wade Barrett is going. I mean, wasn't Wade Barrett with Cole on Raw? And then Cole and then Patrick and Graves have been doing SmackDown. Maybe it's going to be Barrett and Graves on SmackDown. I'm not sure. I hope Barrett doesn't go away. But I mean, I like McAfee. But Cole and McAfee back together, that's a lot of fun. But now I worry about Barrett. You still got Vic Joseph there. I'd love to see Mauro Ronaldo turn back up, but it looks like WWE is still trying to figure out their commentary teams, and Pat McAfee being back permanently is good. I like him. He's wild. He's crazy. I just didn't catch the specifics of it. So if Cole did Cole say through WrestleMania, or did he say permanently? I don't really remember how he worded that. But anyway, McAfee came out actually first and joined Michael Cole. And that's when Michael Cole informed us about CM Punk's injury, I believe. And then CM Punk made his way out to the ring. And you could tell right away, like I was holding out like a 1% hope that this was maybe WWE working us and Punk was, going to get attacked and reveal he was never injured. I don't know why they would do that. So I felt like that was really not possible, but I was just holding out hope that it was. But the minute Cult of Personality hit and Punk kind of walked through the curtain, you could immediately see it on his face. I'm like, oh, he ain't playing. You could tell he's just dejected. You could tell his eyes had bags under them. Like he'd probably just been really bummed all day. Then he comes out and he kind of somberly signs this kid's belt, which was really nice. And he gets in the ring and you could see it on his face. You could see it in his eyes. You could see that he was gutted. And I think a lot of the wrestling world is gutted. So he had his arm in a sling. And I really, really liked his promo. It really got you emotional seeing him like that, because you have to think about, these guys and their career aspirations and stuff and how fragile everything is. I mean, Roman Reigns could get injured. Roman Reigns could be working out in his gym and tear his pec the way Cody tore his. You don't even have to be in a match. You can just get injured. Roman could tumble down the stairs tomorrow. Then what the fuck do we do? Vacate his titles and have a tournament at WrestleMania for? Like, just think about how fragile things are and how easily they can fall apart. And that's got to be heartbreaking when you're in this line of work, knowing, same thing with professional athletes in any sport, that this can happen and you can lose a whole season, you can lose a year, and Punk ain't getting any younger. And I was really hoping in my heart that Punk's run in WWE would be strong and he'd stay healthy and it would be good. And it's not off to a good start. And you could see it on his face. He gets in the ring and he says he's not mad. He actually congratulated Cody, and he hopes that Cody goes to WrestleMania and finishes his story, and he wished Cody well. And then he kind of looked up at the WrestleMania sign and he admits that main eventing WrestleMania might not ever happen. And unfortunately, he's injured. He said he asked the doctors if he could just tape it up and try, but that's just really not possible. Surgery is necessary, and the recovery time for an injury like this is not going to put him back in time for WrestleMania. So that's pretty much out. It's not even something they could wait and see on. It's like this, unlike Seth's injury, Punk is just going to have to be out, which sucks. So you could see that on his face. And hearing him admit that he might never main event to WrestleMania tells me one of two things. He's either right or he's doing it next year. On night one, of course, because Roman and Rock will be main eventing night two. So I wouldn't say it's out of the question for Punk, but I don't think at this point WWE would consider having him be in the main event of WrestleMania unless he had some sort of track record of good health. So if he can come back in June or July, work consistently full-time all throughout the rest of the year, injury-free, then maybe you can talk about him winning the Rumble next year, and that would be a great story. But he's got to stay healthy. So seeing that on his face was really hard to watch. And like I said earlier, I think one of the ways he copes, and a good way for anybody to cope with something, that happens to you, just remember that it could be worse. You're not dead. This is just something that's keeping you out of WrestleMania. You still have your health. You are still alive. You're still a very successful wrestler. And there's always somebody dealing with more stuff. And he brought up his friend Chad. He said his last name, but I don't remember the kid's name. And that's when Punk started tearing up, talking about this kid who's been fighting his ass off, battling cancer. And you think about all the people in the world battling severe illnesses or cancer or life-threatening ordeals, or just have been dealt an unfair bullshit fucking hand by life. And Punk says, hey, this is just a flesh wound. Chad's fighting for his life, and so are a lot of people too. So I need to understand, what that means and just be as positive as possible and vow to come back as best and be the best in the world. And that's pretty much what he did. It was an extremely emotional, extremely heartfelt promo. And that's where I commended him on Twitter tonight. I said, this guy is just unreal. And that's really where his value is at this point. I mean, Punk is in a locker room with a lot of amazing athletes. Physically, he is not at the top of the chain in the WWE, but on the mic, promo delivery and presence and what he says and you listening to him when he talks, he doesn't really have an equal in the business. He really doesn't. And he, despite everything going on with him, he still cut an unbelievable promo that inspired you and made you maybe recognize your own inconveniences in life and maybe that they aren't so bad either. And I thought it was a good message that he sent, in a lot of ways. And that's when Drew McIntyre comes out. Drew McIntyre, the person that actually hurt him in the match, apparently. And he comes out, and the first thing I thought when he's coming down the aisle, I'm like, man, if he really wants to turn heel, he could do something to CM Punk here. And he comes out, and he tries to make you think. I didn't buy it for a second. When he gets in the ring, he tries to make you think that he's going to be sincere. He looks concerned about Punk. He looks like he wants to say, nice things about Punk. And then he says, but I have to tell you one thing. I prayed for this. He says he prayed for it. Wow. I was hoping this would happen to you. I targeted you in the Royal Rumble. And he basically, calls him a cancer, and he wants to, all the same stuff he had to say or he said about him to him a couple of weeks ago, he kind of rehashed here. And at first, when you're thinking maybe Drew is going to be a nice guy, he immediately made his intentions known and seemed very, very happy that Punk was injured, said as much, said he prayed for it, and his prayer was answered, and CM Punk was injured. And that's when Punk kind of barks back. He gets in Drew's face, because at first when McIntyre was coming out, Punk was almost there like saying, okay, if you're going to execute me, just do it. Obviously, I can't fight you here. But that was enough to rile up Punk, and he got right in McIntyre's face, and he goes, I'm going to go, and I'm going to heal this arm. But mark my words, when I come back, you're the first motherfucker that I'm coming after. And I liked that, because by then, Drew McIntyre might be world heavyweight champion. We don't know. I think Drew McIntyre has an opportunity here to really become a vicious, scary, super over monster heel. And I would take advantage of that if I was WWE. I would take advantage of that if I was McIntyre, because you've got you got Brock Lesnar, who's now out. You got a lot of injuries. You might have to step up and have somebody step up and fill some sort of void or role. And I think Drew could be that person, and it might be, I don't know if I necessarily want to see Drew and Seth Rollins again for the championship, but that might be what we get. And if Drew does wind up being world heavyweight champion by SummerSlam, that could be our match there. So we will have to see. The way it looks right now, this is a really early prediction with still a lot of stuff to be worked out. But based on Punk's injury now, you also got to think about the cash-in, the briefcase. But I kind of think maybe Seth Rollins retains at WrestleMania. We don't get both titles change hands. Rollins will keep his, and Roman will drop his. And then, maybe Seth drops it to Drew after WrestleMania. I'd also like to see Sami Zayn get his WrestleMania moment. That would be awesome as well. Although if Sami becomes champion at WrestleMania, I think that would be better if it came against a heel champion, and Seth's, kind of babyface right now. So still a lot to work out there. But Punk says, I'm coming after you when I get better. And that's when Drew goes to attack him, and Punk is trying to fight him off with one arm, punching Drew in the face, getting a little bit of offense in, and then Drew hits him with a Glasgow kiss. Down goes CM Punk, and then Drew McIntyre stomps on CM Punk's arm, which was great. And that's when Sami Zayn came down to make the save. He ran off McIntyre, and McIntyre had a really sadistic kind of, when Vince came up from the ring at WrestleMania 19, we can still say his name, right? It's not like the Cosby Show yet. Is it okay to watch A Different World? When Vince came up at WrestleMania 19 over the the apron there. You know, McIntyre kind of had that look, that sadistic look, which I just loved. I mean, he should really be a menace because he's also a big son of a bitch too. So, you know, he can do shitty heel things while also being ass-kicking badass. And, you know, maybe he turns out to be the one to dethrone Gunther or something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of different things they could do with McIntyre, but if I'm Drew McIntyre, I'm sitting here thinking, hey, I have an opportunity here, because I was probably going to be nowhere near the title picture going into WrestleMania, because, you know, it was going to be Punk and Rollins, and then the Chamber was going to happen, and then, you know, Gunther's going to be working with Brock. I don't even know if Drew McIntyre had a direction. He might have something way more significant to do now at WrestleMania, and hell, they might even make a multi-man match. They might make a fatal four-way for Seth or something like that at WrestleMania at this point. And I also think a cash-in is very likely. But I think this is an opportunity here for McIntyre, to really elevate himself. And I have not seen anything on his contract. I'm assuming if WWE is going to set up a match with CM Punk that is probably 6 months or more away, you'd have to assume this dude's re-signed, right? I mean, I expected him to. I've been saying for the past 4 or 5 months that I think McIntyre should resign and probably will. I just still do not recall seeing any word on whether or not he has officially or not, unless I'm blind and I've missed something. But based on how WWE uses McIntyre and everything he's doing, he doesn't appear to be a guy that's heading off to AEW. So I think McIntyre is probably here to stay. And, hey, I like that idea, Punk for Money in the Bank. But that's going to be close on that timeline, too. It just depends. I mean, Punk's older, so you would think his recovery time from something like surgery might be on the longer end of recovery times. He ain't Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes could be back on Friday from a torn triceps. CM Punk might be a different story. So all the best to him, though. Absolutely gutting news to wake up to today. I did not like seeing that at all, especially with everything else going on in WWE right now and them trying to. And this is what upsets me as a fan. I fucking hate that all this is happening, because WrestleMania 40 should be a big deal, man. You know, this is a milestone pay-per-view. 40 WrestleManias. When I was a kid, I used to think, will there ever be 40 WrestleManias? Will there ever be 50 WrestleManias? Now we're there. You know, this is what I used to think of as a kid. Oh my God, will we actually get that far? I mean, this is such a huge milestone. Imagine Vince wasn't a dirty piece of shit. Imagine Vince was respected and treated women with respect, and it was just an all-around swell dude. He'd be going to the Hall of Fame this year, WrestleMania 40. I think Vince McMahon would have a big presence at WrestleMania. I'd want him to come out in the ring and say, "Welcome to WrestleMania." But Vince, it was more important to him to be a piece of shit than preserving his legacy. It was more important to him to sex traffic women than to preserve his legacy. Those were priorities for Vince. So fuck Vince. But it's a shame that all of this is going on, because this should be a celebratory WrestleMania season. This is a huge deal, man. I've watched all these WrestleManias from the very first one. I didn't watch the first two live because they were just closed circuit, but from 3 on, I've seen them all. And it's crazy that we're at the 40th one, and it should be such a much bigger deal. So I was thinking, okay, the Vince stuff, no big deal. WWE still white hot, talent over like Rover, really exciting and intriguing WrestleMania matches and storylines. They're going to be just fine. They are so strong going into WrestleMania that they don't even need The Rock. We don't even want The Rock. That's how strong WWE's talent is going into WrestleMania. They can give us plenty of exciting matches with what they've got. And now you get hit with the Punk injury. You're taking Brock out of the equation. Again, WWE is deep enough to where I think they'll be fine, but it's still a blow, because I think a lot of people were excited to see Punk's showdown with a major star, likely Rollins, at WrestleMania. And now that's going to be delayed just a little bit. But you know what? We've been kicked in the balls before lots of times. We've gone through this with Punk himself, just in AEW. We've gone through this with Finn Balor in WWE. We've gone through this with Seth Rollins in WWE. Lots of people have been injured or had to forfeit titles or had to leave or whatever. And it has now happened to CM Punk again. And this time it's happened to him in WWE. So that's a shame. But Drew moving into that monster heel status is what I think they need to do with him. He should be Brock. He should be the next Brock. Just have him go out there scaring motherfuckers. Like when when the beginning of Brock's music hits, you have that oh shit feeling in the pit of your stomach, you know? Do that for Drew. You know, make him like that if you can. I don't know. So after the Punk promo, we cut backstage to Judgment Day. Rhea Ripley is kind of riling up the troops there and motivating them and saying no more distractions. It's time to remind everybody who we are, because Priest and Balor were defending their tag team titles tonight against DIY. As a matter of fact, we had 2 championship matches tonight, tags and IC. So that match was up first, and it was great. DIY against Judgment Day. I thought that there was probably no way DIY was going to win here. I would love to see DIY become tag team champions, but they just don't seem over that much in this new rendition that they have, this new version of themselves on Monday Night Raw. Maybe there's some work to do there. And plus, Judgment Days have been rolling hard. It would have been a weird place for them to drop the tags, but the match was still really good, really great, really fun, and commercial free, which didn't allow you, to come down off of anything and have these big long pauses in there. It was just a ton of fun. This is awesome chance, a lot of action, and I enjoyed it. Coupe de Gracie on Ciampa there for the win, and Judgment Day retains. I would still like to know what WWE is going to do with these tag team championships. These guys have been walking around with red and blue titles forever now. There was the story that we did hear a couple of months back where WWE was photo and screen testing new championship belts for the tag team division, but we didn't really get a follow-up on that or know what that was even about. And so at this point, maybe they're just waiting until after WrestleMania to do this. I still think we're going to need a draft relatively quickly after WrestleMania, because if Cody Rhodes challenges Roman Reigns, and correct me if I'm wrong, and beats Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, he would be on SmackDown, right? So if that's going to happen, they need to make up for the loss of Cody on Monday Night Raw. Now, before the Royal Rumble, I pitched an awesome scenario of brand new WWE champion Cody Rhodes opening Monday Night Raw the night after WrestleMania and saying, hey guys, I won the title. I beat that shithead Roman Reigns, so that means I got to go to SmackDown now, but I'll be back. You'll see me again, but I would like to leave you with a parting gift. I would like to introduce you to a really, really close friend of mine and the newest member of the Monday Night Raw roster, Jade Cargill. And he brings out Jade, and that's like his gift to the Raw audience before he leaves. But we saw Jade show up in the Rumble, and they teased the Bianca thing, so I think Jade's going to be SmackDown as well. Plus, Braun Breaker showed up. He could be there, and Andrade also is now signed with Raw. We'll talk about him here in just a minute. So I think with the draft, by then, they figure something out with those tag team titles, maybe ununifying them or presenting them with new championship belts or whatever you need to do there. But, honestly, I don't even know if that's really high on WWE's priority right now. Is Triple H going to be thinking about, oh, what should I do with these titles in 4 months if I'm not even working here? We still don't know a lot of stuff yet, and there might be some hammers dropping on some motherfuckers, especially if more Vince McMahon information comes out, because you got to remember, of all the women that he has preyed upon, this is just one that we're hearing about, so it could be a lot worse. But hopefully they'll clean up that tag team title situation at some point, because I'm a stickler for that. I obsess about it. I really don't like inconsistencies and jumbled up title histories, and WWE has fucked all their titles up. Don't even get me started on the women's titles and the belt swaps, and they've even done that with the tags too. So something just a little bit more organized would really please Greg as a fan. Organization is key to inner peace, I think. Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler defeated Chelsea Green and Piper Niven up next. Wait, hold on. I did this last night too. In the interview, the movie, James Franco interviewing Eminem, he says he's gay, and then he goes, let's just back up a minute. We got to back up a minute again, because after Judgment Day beat DIY, Priest got on the mic and called out R-Truth. He says, either I have an apology to issue, Truth. I know you're back there coming out here, because Damian Priest attacked him and beat him up pretty good at the Rumble. And he wanted Truth to come out to apologize to him. And Truth comes out and he tells Damian Priest, I wanted to give you your cut of the merchandise, but I decided to put all your money in crypto, and then I liquidated your assets. And Priest goes, there's no way have any idea what any of that means, which was pretty funny. And then Priest tells Truth, he goes, I like you. I do like you, but you're not a part of this family. but it's because I like you, which is why I don't want to be the one to do this. And he steps back and he goes, Dominic, but Dominic doesn't attack R-Truth. JD McDonough does. So I think Priest was supposed to say JD because JD was really viciously attacking R-Truth, and I think R-Truth was instrumental in getting JD out of the Rumble, right? I forgot what they did at the Rumble, but the two of them had some sort of issue there before R-Truth thought the Rumble was a tag team match. So JD attacks him. Judgment Day then pounces. The Miz comes out to try to help him out, but he's immediately swarmed and gets his ass beat down too. So I am sad that this has now come to an end, because you would think that Truth now is, even somebody as dumb as Truth is, can't still think that these guys are his family and his friends. So unless he comes out next week and goes, I know y'all just had a bad night. We were just arguing. That's what families do. He might say something like that. But if this is the end of R-Truth and Judgment Day, it makes me sad, because I really fucking love that guy. He's one gem in a world of a lot of shit right now. So it's nice to see R-Truth. After that is when we had Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark defeating Chelsea Green. Samantha Irvin, by the way, is back to doing her Chelsea Green entrances. So that means WWE heard us when we were like, yo, what the fuck? That was awesome. And they're like, okay, we'll bring it back. So I appreciate them doing that. Not much of a match here, kind of a squash. Z360 to Chelsea, which she sold like a champ. And I'm a big fan of Chelsea's ring gear these days. At the Royal Rumble, too. She just looked amazing. Zack Ryder, I salute you, my friend. Cody Rhodes was up next. It's Cody. It's the winner of the Royal Rumble. We're going to hear from him. Had Punk not gotten injured, Cody probably would have opened the show tonight. And he comes out to the ring. He's wearing a suit, and he gets in the ring, and it's really funny. Cody does something that is so heelish. He has Samantha Irvin announce him again as, I think, back-to-back Royal Rumble winners, which she was doing when he came out. But he got on the mic and he goes, it sounded so good. Samantha, I got to ask, can you please do it again? That's some shit that a heel does. So, of course, she obliges and does the whole thing. And much like Punk, Cody starts talking, and he's, Cody's an emotional guy. This guy tears up a lot. He's got a lot of that Ric Flair in him. And he started tearing up when talking about the fans and their support. And I liked that. I'm a sap now. I'm 46 years old. I'll be 47 years old this year. I'm not full of piss and vinegar anymore. I like this wholesome stuff. I prefer it, actually. Back when I was 22, I'd be like, oh, Cody, you're lame or whatever. But now I'm a grown-ass man who's normal. And I like stuff like that. So I'm probably going to be more and more of a fan of sappier shit the older and older I get. So I felt that from Cody, just like I felt it from CM Punk earlier. I felt what they were saying, and that's extremely crucial to being able to connect with characters in wrestling. It's what I did when I was a kid with Bret Hart and others, and it's very rare to really be able to truly connect with somebody. And so when somebody comes along that does that, I like it, because I wasn't connecting with Cody at all in AEW, but something about his WWE run has been really exciting, and it's still after 2 years now, it's still new to me to see Cody in WWE. Most fans are used to it by now, but I'm still just like, I can't believe this dude is back. And it's been 2 years of that shit. It's weird enough having CM Punk back too. So that's all still just new and really, really kind of cool to me. So Cody says, you know what? He looks at the Mania sign. He goes, let's just go ahead and make Mania official right now. And that's when Seth Rollins' music hits, and he comes out wearing all blue, looking like $1 million, and he comes out, and I'm like, this is weird. I'm like, okay, I even during Seth's entrance, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to say he wants Cody to challenge him. But if I'm Cody, I'm like, sorry, dude. Like, I kind of have your number. If it's okay with you, I'm going to go to SmackDown and face somebody who I haven't completely fucking owned in 3 separate pay-per-view matches. You know what I mean? So I don't even know why Seth was coming out there, but I liked it, because as he's coming to the ring, I'm like, okay, this is good. They're not just blowing off Seth's championship. I don't care what Seth said tonight. I don't care what Cody and Seth said to each other. I don't care what Cody is going to think about and reveal next week. Cody is facing Roman Reigns. That is exactly what's happened, or what's happening. He pointed to Cody after he won the Rumble. He pointed to Roman after he won the Rumble. Cody is facing Roman 100%. But like I mentioned prior to the event, in my predictions, one of the reasons why I predicted Cody to not win was because I felt like if he did, that was going to leave a big gap of time between now and WrestleMania. With Roman Reigns not being on the show very much, how are you even going to build Cody and Roman? You're going to have to kill some time. So I thought that's why Elimination Chamber made a lot more sense for Cody. He could just win the Chamber, get the shot against Roman Reigns, and then he would just have a smaller, short amount of time to build that, and Roman can kind of be on the show every week. Plus, Cody is a Raw guy. He's going to have to be doing most of the build, I would assume, on SmackDown, right? You would think Roman will probably make an appearance on Raw, but it would be weird for Roman to even be there. I think he should. I think there should be some big Raw segment, probably maybe even on the go home, where it's like Seth and it's the 4 main event competitors. Seth and his challenger and Cody and Roman all in the ring together might be kind of a fun visual, maybe even a tag team match. You know, I think one of those years before WrestleMania, it was like Rock and Austin versus the NWO or something. They used to have some major mega matches on the go-home WrestleMania shows, and they don't really do that anymore. So that might kind of be fun if they did that, but Cody's got a lot of time to kill here. So Rollins lays out why he thinks Cody should challenge him, and he mentions that, you know, do you want to go after the Hollywood title, or do you want to go after Dusty's title? Your dad's title. And I'm like, that title is 8 fucking months old. It is not Dusty's title. I'm sorry. What Rollins means by that is it's the blue collar title. It's the workhorse title. It's the workman's title. And this is the championship that means something. This is the championship that's actually on TV, that's defended regularly. This should be the championship you want to come after. And even though I completely disagree with that, I like that Seth said this, and I like that WWE is doing this, because this is killing a couple of birds with one stone. Number one, it's killing time for Cody, because now he'll have an extra week or maybe even 2, depending on how long they stretch this out, to make that official decision. And then something will happen that'll help sway his hand. Maybe he'll appear. He probably will appear on SmackDown on Friday. I would not be surprised if they advertise Cody for SmackDown. So maybe something happens there, or another promo or confrontation with Paul Heyman. Something happens over there that just, you know, that forces Cody's hand, and then he comes back to Raw and be like, look, Seth, I appreciate the offer, but I got to take this motherfucker down, you know, because then there will be 2 workhorse champions, and then we might have a problem, because the whole point of Seth's title belt was because, you know, you had a champion that unified him and never defended him and isn't a workhorse champion. So that was the whole point of Seth's belt being created. So if Cody beats Roman, what's the point of having 2 titles now? Again, you know, I don't even know, but I think in the end, obviously it's still going to be Cody and Roman, but I don't mind them, you know, planting these seeds of doubt. I don't think it has anything to do with The Rock. You know, somebody mentioned like, oh man, are they still waiting on word from The Rock if he'll work WrestleMania? And that's why they're kind of holding off Cody's decision to see if he's going to work. And then maybe they'll have Cody challenge Seth, but I just don't see that being the case. It's going to be Cody and Roman. That's what the people want. Well, that's what the story is. That's the whole story. I talked about it all week long, all weekend long. Like, they've got the finish even set up. Every fucking Roman match, same thing. Solo Sikoa in with the spike. This time, maybe The Rock is out there to prevent that from happening, and Cody can take care of Roman one-on-one and win the title and be endorsed with The Rock to close out night 2. That's the way I'd book it. It's all set up for you, all nice and nice, but you still have some time to kill in between then. So I think this accomplished a couple of things. It kills time, and it reminds the fans that this is not a secondary title, which a lot of fans have considered it a secondary title. I don't want to, you know, but it is kind of like that since it was just fucking created, you know? It's the second place world title. And it's always been that way with WWE. There's always been a second place world title. Sometimes they flop. You know, there's been times in WWE where that world heavyweight title was more important than the WWE. Still, one of the craziest things in my mind to think about is that WCW's championship main evented the 20th anniversary of WrestleMania in Madison Square Garden. What fucking sense does that make? So the titles do flip-flop in importance. That happens. But I still think Roman Reigns' run, his history-making run, going to wind up being 4th all time. I don't think he's going to pass Hogan at number 3. That is still a huge, huge accolade, and that's still a huge, huge victory. And I think that They're just doing this to kill some time for Cody until he ultimately makes his decision. Hopefully that will just be in a week or so and they don't drag it out too much, but maybe he waits until after the Chamber, or maybe they're just finding a different way to kill that time that I thought Cody would be killing, getting into the Chamber and winning the Chamber to get the shot. Now they have to do it a different way. So having Seth come out there and say, hey, I want you, it should be me and you, I like that. I actually have no issue with that at all. I think it's just a formality, and it's a way to acknowledge that there is another championship there that Cody has to at least think about, and he shouldn't just be so quick to challenge Roman Reigns. So I really liked that logic there, and it didn't really bother me at all. And Seth Rollins must have said enough to convince Cody Rhodes to think about it. Cody actually says, I'll think about it. Now, ultimately, it's not going to matter. Cody's still going to challenge Roman, but the fact that Cody was like, okay, I'll think about it, and then they ended the segment is a good way to kill that time. So we'll see if Cody, maybe Cody doesn't appear on SmackDown next week. He might not, or this Friday. I feel like if he was, they might have already advertised that, like on social media. But maybe not this week. Maybe it's more Roman Reigns doing a victory lap or something, and then maybe Cody is on SmackDown the week after. Maybe next Monday on Raw, he tells Seth no, and then the following Friday is when he hits SmackDown for the first time. And now we're going to be in, first week or two of February there and, getting the ball rolling a little bit easier. And then we'll see what happens with Cody and what happens with him winning the title and going to SmackDown and what that's going to mean for Raw. And if WWE is going to do any more things in the draft to really jumble things up, because this year also is going to be new homes for Raw and SmackDown. I guess next year, Raw is going to be going to Netflix. And in October, SmackDown's going to move to the USA Network. So they might want to swap the championships. Like, I actually think one thing they could do, I mentioned Cody going to SmackDown. One big thing they could do to offset that is send Roman Reigns to Monday Night Raw. I actually think after WrestleMania that Roman and maybe the Bloodline should be on Monday Night Raw. If Cody's going to go to SmackDown, then Roman coming over to Raw might make sense. Plus, it would put Roman and Seth together, and now Roman can challenge for that belt. And then when you get into next year and stuff, and it's time to book Rock and Roman, you have that on your A Monday show, assuming Raw is still technically the A show by the time they get to Netflix next year and start building towards WrestleMania 41. So that's kind of the way I feel like it could go. But I think after WrestleMania, they got to do a big draft and do some major moves. And I wouldn't even be opposed to, instead of Roman coming to Raw, switching the belts again, because they've done that a bunch of times too on the draft. Sometimes they've moved the World Heavyweight title to Raw and the WWE to SmackDown and vice versa. We've seen that before, the whole John Cena and Batista draft, right? When that happened in 2005 or whatever. So WWE could move Rollins or whoever the World Heavyweight Champion is to SmackDown and keep Cody Rhodes on Raw as now the WWE Universal Champion or Undisputed Champion or whatever the hell that belt is called now. So they could do that too. There's so many different things they could do, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what's awesome about this. Let me know what you think about all this. I think Adam Pearce, too, and Nick Aldis are going to have a lot of really great back and forths because we'll talk about those two here in a minute. Yeah, there it is. It's after this next match. Next match up was Bronson Reed taking on Jey Uso one-on-one. This was a victory for Jey. Uso splash there for the win. And there's been a lot of talk about Jey Uso and what he could do at WrestleMania. And I think a lot of us were expecting and assuming he was going to be facing Jimmy. But now that might not be the case. I've heard that maybe he's going to be the one to take the title off of Gunther. I still want Chad Gable. I'm still holding out hope for Chad Gable, but Chad Gable was not even in the Royal Rumble, and I'm starting to think that WWE does not give a fuck about Chad Gable. So I'm starting to let go of that fantasy because it just doesn't feel like it's going to happen. I feel like if Gable was going to beat Gunther, he would be in momentum building mode right now with, big victories and, fighting his way back to the top, and we haven't even seen him. Other than backstage stuff. So that's not feeling likely now. And maybe it will be Jey Uso that takes the title off of Gunther. It could also be Drew McIntyre if they wanted to do that. It could also be maybe a returning Sheamus, and I would love for Gunther to come out and issue an open challenge at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title. And then you get the coin drop. Out comes Okada, takes the title off of Gunther. Imagine that moment. That would be a lot of fun as well. So there are going to be some different options for Gunther in terms of who he might face at WrestleMania. And I don't think it's going to be one of the things I was going to mention about the Elimination Chamber. In Punk's promo, he said, my hope was that even though I lost the Royal Rumble, that I could go to the Elimination Chamber and get my shot that way. And when he said that, that might have spoiled WWE's plans. Now we do know, because we really didn't know for sure, but it does now look like, based on what Punk said, that the Elimination Chamber will actually determine the challengers for the other championships. So, if they did that, then one person that rules out would be Gunther, because Gunther's got the visa issue. He cannot travel for a few more months. I think it was a 6-month travel ban, and I don't know when that was implemented, but it ain't over yet. It's going to be past WrestleMania before he can even do that. I'm not even sure if he's going to be able to work Backlash. Probably not. So Gunther going to WrestleMania now to challenge Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship, he's likely out. There's no path for him. So that means Gunther is probably going to have to defend that Intercontinental title against someone at WrestleMania, and that's why you got a chance to take it off of him if you wanted to do something with an Okada or a Chad Gable, or with a Braun Breaker, who also debuted in the Rumble, and he's someone as well. Although, as we will see in the next segment, Breaker might be heading to SmackDown. We cut backstage, and we see Andrade back there with Adam Pearce, and Adam Pearce has got a Raw contract, and Andrade signs it. He is going to be on Monday Night Raw, which surprises me because Zelina Vega is on SmackDown. I wanted to see them reunited, and he even told Nick Aldis, who walked in, to say hi to Zelina Vega for him on SmackDown. So Andrade is a Raw person, and that also tells me that when Charlotte is recovered from her injury, she will be on Raw as well, unless Andrade goes to SmackDown and she stays put. All the signs here are pointing to WWE doing a draft right after WrestleMania. I feel like they're going to have to, because they're going to have to fix some of what's going on here. And I think eventually Andrade and Charlotte will be on the same brand, as will Jimmy Uso and Naomi. And Naomi still has to land somewhere, and so does Jade Cargill, and so does Braun Breaker. And I think Aldis and Adam Pearce, they're two of the best GMs we've had in wrestling in a long time, and I'm really liking the back and forth between the two and kind of the competition between the two. And I think it's going to make for some really fun, talent competition, especially some of these free agents, and will play really fun into the draft, because now the draft will be much better. I hope that when they do the next draft, it's not, they just, Kevin Dunn being gone and stuff, I feel like the draft has a chance. Like the draft has a chance to feel cool again. They might have a podium with the GMs making their picks, and it's no more just like the revolving images on the Titantron, and then it just stops on somebody, and it's just a really lame way to make the picks, because all they're doing is telling you what they decided in the creative meetings up on the Tron, instead of making it sound and seem like it's an actual real draft. I've always hated the way the drafts have been lately, with the stupid little effects on the Tron and the graphics and all that. I'm like, just have people coming out, pulling out balls, or just maybe making picks, but in a more official capacity to where it just looks better. So maybe we see that. Either way, I think a draft absolutely has to happen after WrestleMania, because I think they're going to have to kind of clean up a few messes. You know what I mean? After that was an Intercontinental title match. Gunther taking on Kofi. I've been thinking about Kofi a lot lately, because I just really hate, for him that, unfortunately, his name, is a little bit associated with that lawsuit for all the wrong reasons. And I was in the arena at Staples Center for the first SmackDown on Fox when Kofi lost his title to Brock. And I really hated being there for that. I have the whole thing on video, and I wish that I didn't, because it kind of puts that match now in a whole new light, and I wasn't looking back on that match in a very positive manner as it was. And so after that, it's just so fucking gross. But none of this fucking shit is Kofi's fault. And I really like and appreciate and love Kofi. And I thought for a second there, man, maybe he could actually win the IC title. This is a former WWE champion, don't forget. And he didn't just have a cup of coffee with the title. He held the title and successfully retained it on pay-per-views. This guy had an actual run. Unfortunately, it came to an end in the most shitty way possible, but he actually did have a run. So he is not to be taken lightly, that Kofi Kingston. But unfortunately, Gunther, too much. Kofi fought his ass off, really, really did. But in the end, it was the power bomb putting him down, and Gunther retains and continues his run. After the match, they teased me. You know, in my predictions, I was really hoping, in my Royal Rumble predictions, I was really hoping for a Big E return. And then, after Gunther beats Kofi, Imperium hits the ring, Ludwig and Kaiser Permanente, and they start attacking Xavier and Kofi. And for a minute, I was thinking Big E was going to come out and make the save, but Gunther wasn't participating in the beatdown. It was just the two of them. He was standing in the aisleway observing. So I felt like, well, Big E's not going to come out. He didn't. They teased me. Didn't happen. But one day, I'm mentioning the night after Mania, the Raw after Mania. That would be another good place for a Big E return or just something good. I'm begging WWE to have a good Raw after Mania, because if they don't, there's no excuse. You know, because last year that was Vince. Vince fucked that show all to hell. But now with no Vince and no Kevin Dunn and nobody else handcuffing your ass, give us a good one. You know, why would Triple H not want to give us an awesome Raw after Mania, especially when they've had some great ones throughout the years? Wouldn't you want to bring that enthusiasm back? Don't you want that back? That was always such a fun and special night in the company. Why would you not want that show to be fun? Laziness? Oh, WrestleMania exhausted us. We don't have enough time to come up with a compelling Monday Night Raw for the next night. No, fuck that. Do it, assholes. So I'm hoping that that's also something that they do. After Gunther and Kofi, we got the Kabukis taking on Tegan Nox and Natalya. This was not a title match. The Kabukis, of course, won the tag team titles on Friday Night SmackDown in a move that I absolutely loved, because I thought that would really play in well to a Bayley victory if she were to win the Royal Rumble, which she did. And I love this version of the Kabuki Warriors so much better than the previous version, where they seemed really thrown together, out of place. They didn't match. Paige was out there. Now they feel like a real team. And I love that. I'm loving this rendition of them. Love them as tag team champions. And they made short work of Tegan and Natty. They put them down. And then later on backstage, they interviewed... I'll tell you what, man, that Katana chance, she's my least favorite promo. Just hearing her, it's not, I mean, I feel so bad. It's nothing against her. I'm sure she's a totally sweetheart of an individual. But I mean, my God, her promos just make me want to crawl up my own ass. I just can't even stand it. It's so fucking cringe. So Katana and the other one, they said that next week they're going to get a tag team title shot against the Kabukis. Hopefully they will get their asses kicked in that, because that team does nothing for me. But then again, you know, what can Katana, Chance, and Caden Carter really do for a 47-year-old bald fucker, you know? So I don't really care for them. And then after the victory, Bayley is coming out here for her promo, and the Kabukis hung around in the ring, and Dakota Kai was out there, and of course so is Io Sky. And Bayley comes out, and she called us all idiots for not thinking she'd win, and she banters back with Michael Cole, which was fun. She bragged about her 63 minutes and told Cole, 63 minutes, Cole, which I just love the two of them together. I think they should induct each other into the Hall of Fame. I don't know who's going to induct Michael Cole. I think maybe Corey Graves or Triple H might make sense. But if it's a wrestler, it needs to be Bayley. And when Bayley goes into the Hall of Fame, if it ain't Mercedes inducting her, I think it needs to be Michael Cole. I really like their relationship. And Bayley, I mean, like, Damage Control seems really happy about Bayley. And that's what I said in the predictions. I'm like, what would be cool about Bayley winning is that Damage Control, of course, is going to, you know, want her. And it's kind of Bayley's idea. We're going to domination, you know, we're going to dominate the WWE and hold all the gold. And I felt like it would be more Damage Control pushing her to that direction. But then they do the evolution thing with Batista with the contract and the thumbs up, thumbs down thing. But it seems like Damage Control is kind of on the same page right now, although I'm sure they're all kissing Bayley's ass so she doesn't challenge Io. But at least in storyline, they haven't gone far enough with it for it to make sense really right now for Bayley to say, yeah, I'm going to challenge you, Io Sky. So I knew in this, I was curious when Bayley was in there. I'm like, what are they going to do to stall? Because there's no way we're getting an answer of who Bayley is going to challenge yet. We're not going to know that because we know she's going to challenge Io, but I can't see all of that coming together in this one segment. So before she can really go any further, Rhea Ripley then comes out. She comes out and then she's attacked from behind by Nia Jax. Nia Jax takes out Rhea Ripley and then gets in the ring and gets in Bayley's face and said, look, you can challenge whoever you want, but I'm going to tell you right now, Rhea is not going to make it to WrestleMania. And Bayley was like, yeah, dude, if you just will let me finish, I was going to say that this Friday on SmackDown, I'm going to make my choice, and then gets the fuck out of the ring. So that was how they stalled here, because the minute that, well, I mean, we saw Bayley was advertised for the show. I'm like, I don't know what the hell she's going to say or what she's going to do. It's just going to have to be a tease or something's going to have to happen. Nothing is going to be revealed. So Bayley said she is going to make her decision next week. So maybe the story here is going to be like the reason Bayley is challenging Io. She's going to be like, look, dude, I have no other choice. Like, Nia Jax is going to kill Rhea Ripley. I can't go over there. They're all fucking targeting her. I'll get caught in the middle. I'll get injured, and I don't have you guys for backup. No, man. Like, I think I have no choice but to challenge Io. It might just have to be a friendly competition or something. Maybe it happens that way. But I was kind of thinking, since Bayley came in at number 3 in the Rumble, that a babyface turn is coming out of this, right? You know, that's a hell of a performance she had. That's a babyface performance, not a heel one. So, well, I guess it could be a heel one, but I still felt like a babyface turn was going to come out of this somewhere, and it probably still will, since WrestleMania is 2 months and some away. We got time to do all of that, but it sounds like she said to Nia Jax, I'm going to decide Friday. So I don't know if she'll decide Friday either. We will have to see. And Rhea Ripley might very well show up as well. And plus, with Elimination Chamber coming up, I think Ripley should maybe take on Nia Jax one-on-one for the title and beat her. And then maybe Becky wins the Chamber. That's kind of how I would do that. But now with Bayley, I don't even know how the title shot with Io Sky is going to materialize. I don't know how they're going to execute that in storyline and what's going to happen between the two of them, and if it's going to happen as soon as Friday on SmackDown, either in the ring or backstage, or who knows what they're going to do. Main event time was Drew McIntyre, evil, sadistic Drew McIntyre, taking on Sami Zayn. And this was a good match too, man. Really fun. I thought for sure we were not going to get a finish because Elimination Chamber's coming up, and I feel like these guys could both be contenders, but we did get a finish, and we kind of got a clean one. I mean, Drew was, a vicious heel, but he didn't cheat that bad, did he? He actually ducked out of the way of a haluva kick. Sammy kind of crotched himself in the corner, and then Drew came in with a wicked sweet-looking Claymore, took out Sammy and pinned him and got the win, and I got no problem with that because Drew's a beast. He should be beating motherfuckers. So I was pleasantly surprised that we got a finish there. I did not think we would. And now that takes us into the Elimination Chamber. And like I said earlier, I would assume, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong or if you think there's a better idea or a different idea, I think that it will probably be Raw and SmackDown people in the Chamber. Wouldn't you think? Because for the World Heavyweight Title Tournament, a Raw championship, right? They had SmackDown people in it, and that was driving me nuts. And of course, the Royal Rumble is, has the two brands. So why wouldn't this? I feel like Chamber is going to have 3 of each. So what are we looking at here? Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre, and who's the third from Raw? Jey Uso or maybe Damian Priest? Damian is a tag team. Part of the reason maybe why Priest is tag team champion also is to keep him out of some of these main event matches. So the fact that Damian Priest is tag team champion might actually keep him out of the Chamber, and maybe him and Balor defend at Chamber. So I would say maybe Sammy and Drew and Jey Uso. And then on the SmackDown side, you got what? Maybe Jimmy Uso or AJ Styles. Maybe AJ, maybe the 3 people who beat Orton or faced Roman, excuse me. The 3 people who faced Roman and lost. AJ, LA Knight, and Randy Orton. Yeah, AJ, Knight, Orton, Sammy, Jay, Drew? How does that sound for an Elimination Chamber? And the winner will face Seth Rollins for the championship. Who faces Seth Rollins for the championship? McIntyre? Maybe, but we just had, I mean, they worked on the day one show. They already kind of had a little mini feud. Not that you can't rekindle that, but is that WrestleMania? You know, they put that match on Raw. Okay. It was on Raw 28 days ago. So how's that going to main event WrestleMania? You know what I mean? Is that going to work? Like, what are they going to do here? That's why I think maybe two things might happen. I think number one, Rollins might have multiple opponents, or his match might not even main event night one. It might, I don't know what the fuck they're going to do, but they could do something maybe with LA Knight if they wanted to. We could get Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. That's something else to think about. I wouldn't totally hate that. You got to think about what all these people are going to do at WrestleMania. You know, so whoever doesn't face Seth is going to have to face somebody else. So, you know, if McIntyre wins, what does Orton do? If Orton wins, what does McIntyre do? You know, if Sami Zayn wins, what does Orton and McIntyre do? Maybe they work against each other in a, you know, like sometimes at WrestleMania, that sometimes they would just have one fun interpromotional match. You know, like Umaga and Lashley, and there's been a lot of examples of that, right? Sometimes there's like one, you know, interpromotional thing that they do. Used to be more common, I think, in the mid 2000s or something. But, you know, maybe you could do McIntyre and Orton, but we've seen McIntyre and Orton. We've seen them feud for the championship, right? So I don't even know if that's, you know, WrestleMania worthy either. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't have any idea what they're going to do. But now Rollins is going to need a challenger. And I don't know who's left in terms of that crop of main event stars. Who is the one best suited to face Seth Rollins? Honestly, I kind of think it's Sammy or Jay. You know, even though Seth Rollins is kind of a babyface, you know, that would be a babyface match. Sammy or Jay getting that match, I think, would be awesome for either one of them. Like, I really wouldn't have a problem with that at all if one of them came out on top. And that wouldn't make a lot of sense here. Sammy's taken a loss. Sammy lost clean to Drew McIntyre here. You know, just like Becky lost clean to Nia Jax. Maybe that's because they're about to win something bigger, and this is when you can afford clean losses on these people when they're about to go do something much bigger. But maybe that's a sign. I really don't know. But I think Sami Zayn, you know, winning would be a fun story. I love Sami, and maybe that's what happens. Solo does need a Mania match. That is true. 7th season. Solo might be a good candidate, too, to maybe do something with a Raw guy. I don't know, especially if the Bloodline might find themselves on Raw down the road. So maybe we'll have to really break down the roster and think about where everybody could fit at WrestleMania. We'll have to do that real soon because I think a lot of these matches are kind of up in the air. And right now, Seth's challenger for the championship is interesting to me because I honestly don't know who it's going to be. And one person that I personally now feel like it's not going to be is Gunther, because CM Punk in his promo mentioned wanting to go to the Chamber and getting the title shot. So why would he say that if that wasn't the plan? Or maybe he said it by accident. I don't know. So I feel like that still will be the plan. And with his travel issues, Gunther's not even going to be on the show. So it's going to be a different challenger for Seth Rollins' title. And I think right now, I mean, for WrestleMania, it would be best to have somebody that already has kind of a thing or history with Rollins instead of trying to set up some brand new match. You know, the only person I might have some interest in that with would be Randy Orton. I think that would be fun. LA Knight would kind of be fun too, but Randy Orton and Rollins might be cool to see that rekindled, you know, 9 years after their WrestleMania match in San Francisco, where I think Rollins is still in the air from that RKO. He hasn't even come down yet. He's won all those championships in the air. He'll hit the ground soon. So maybe they could do that. I don't know. That's true. One thing I didn't think about was Nick Aldis. He could face Nick Aldis. Randy or John Cena could come back in. I mean, WWE, Triple H might call him up. Look, man, shit's hitting the fan over here. You want to come in? Punk got injured. We had to pull Brock. We need some star power. Maybe Cena can come in and do something, and maybe it would be fun just to get Cena and Austin Theory again, and Cena beat him. Why not? I think that would be a feel-good match, fun match, attraction match for Cena. Bring him out there, slap that little piece of shit around, AA his ass, and get that victory back and wipe that crumb off your shoulder. You know, I think that would be kind of fun if they did that. So, or maybe Cena teams up with somebody. Maybe Cena and Orton team up and take on Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. I feel like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens could take on them too. If it's going to be LA Knight and Logan Paul, maybe Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens somehow come back together to take on Waller in theory, but there's no tag titles on the line, so I don't even know why that wouldn't even make much sense. I don't know. There's lots that they could do. Does Dwayne work Mania? I think Dwayne is going to be at Mania. And what I want to see Dwayne do, like I said, is come out and stop the bloodline from helping Roman Reigns and putting an end to the same old Roman Reigns finish and help Cody beat Roman. That's the way I would do it. There's a little bit of follow-up on the Vince McMahon stuff. Of course, there is still a lot of uncertainty. We're still processing all that. A lot of it's dirty. I think of the 67-page lawsuit, we maybe read 2 to 3 pages of it, and that's it. Reading the whole thing is pretty disturbing, which I have done, and just seeing like a lot of the extra little gross details is just something else. So we're still trying to process all of that. One thing we do know is that Vince McMahon did resign on Friday ahead of SmackDown. So we have a big video on that, and we've talked about the lawsuit. We've talked about a lot of this stuff, but now WWE is moving into their, I guess, their damage control mode and trying to move on from this as quickly as possible. Now, we talked about the Royal Rumble presser, how that was the first opportunity for anybody to ask questions to WWE, which 3 people did. And what I do like about the questions from John and from Cameron is that they were asking for specific things. What are you doing to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Shit like that. Things you would expect to be asked, right? And of course, Triple H danced around all of them and just could not answer. And when there's something like this with a lawsuit, obviously, from the top, they're saying, don't say shit. So the best he can do is kind of dance around stuff. I just don't understand why they, number one, didn't have the presser, or number two, just issue a statement at the beginning. Look, I know you guys all have questions, but legally, I can't talk about it. I'm sorry. Instead, Triple H did not look good. Triple H and Tony Khan are not your best at the scrums because when serious shit is happening or whatever, Tony Khan's either putting on a hat and fucking Tony Storm's glasses, or Triple H is just sounding like an asshole, especially when he says things like, I didn't read the lawsuit. This is your father-in-law. All of us have read the lawsuit. Don't act like, don't front. You know how long it takes to Google that from the private plane when you're flying from Stamford down here for the Rumble? Just get your phone out, go to your Google app, type Vince lawsuit. It'll come right up, click on it. It won't even take you 20 seconds. 20 seconds of reading, and you will hit gnarly shit. Super gnarly. So I had a problem with that response. If he hasn't read it, then that's really fucking lame because it takes minimal effort. It takes negative effort to read it. Very, very little effort. I understand Triple H is a very busy man, but he spends a lot of time on that corporate jet. I'm sure he had a minute and a half of spare time, maybe 5 minutes, to pull it up, take a look at it, at least kind of get an idea. You don't have to read it and study it and recite it by heart, but at least get an idea of what's in there, and it wouldn't take him long to get to any of that stuff. So he's either in denial or he's full of fucking shit, or he's just like, I'm going to say I didn't read it. That way I don't have to respond to anything specifically. I call bullshit on that. I think it's a lie, and I most definitely think he has read it. And I also think that he's probably fucking disgusted by it as well, because that's really gross stuff. But with Vince now out, and Endeavor and TKO now have to, I guess, I don't know, conduct their own investigation or decide how they want to handle anything else. Because, as I'm about to talk about here, Ari Emanuel, for the good of his company and business, might want to rid anything Vince McMahon related, and even though some people might not be specifically guilty about anything, knowing about the way this man can be, and that is information that a, son-in-law would know. I believe that Triple H maybe didn't know the extremes to everything that was going on, but I definitely think that he knows that Vince McMahon is a dirty piece of shit. He knows that, and I'm just really hoping that Triple H did not know that Vince McMahon is passing around an office girl. He's passing around a human being for other men to use. And to know about that and to not help is absolutely a fireable offense, and the company should be rid of anyone that does that, regardless of what it does to their business. Now, PW Insider had a report on this today. It was long. I'm only going to read you like the final 3 paragraphs. I guess the final 3 of the 6 paragraphs that I thought were the most pertinent here. So it was a long write-up just on the whole situation, what we've learned so far. And here is the part I want to read to you. And I quote, Vince McMahon's last visit to WWE headquarters would have been the all hands on deck meeting in Stamford on January 23rd that saw Nick Khan, Paul Levesque, and The Rock address WWE staff. During that meeting, Levesque had joked that McMahon was sitting in the gorilla position backstage watching over everything. That date may prove to be the last time Vince McMahon was physically inside a WWE building. On Friday, there was also a belief, and depending on who you are, perhaps a concern internally, that Endeavor might seek to sweep out anyone close to Vince McMahon and whatever remaining support team he still had in place in order to have a complete, fresh start for the company going forward. There were employees who exited the company when Vince initially resigned that were part of his personal team who returned when he forced his way back in. For those that have remained with WWE post-Endeavor purchase, the belief among those we've spoken with is that a connection to McMahon may be a major negative going forward for their WWE status. There are a lot of people waiting to see how things shake out in the days ahead. As one source noted to me this morning, quote, if anyone believes for a second that Endeavor owner Ari Manuel wanted to discover the type of allegations brought forth in the Janelle Grant lawsuit, not just about a company he purchased, but a company that has been employing his own daughter at WWE headquarters for several years, then they don't know Emmanuel, and they don't understand how ferociously he will eradicate anything that needs to be taken care of to protect his business. The same source noted that if Emmanuel was willing to walk away from Saudi Arabia investments years ago without blinking an eye, he'll have no problem removing anything and anyone still remaining that could potentially hurt or impact WWE's business going forward. So that's pretty scary. Now, there's a bunch of things to think about too. That lawsuit, as you read through it, it names corporate officers, corporate officer number 1, corporate officer number 2. I think there's 4 of them. You don't think that one of these corporate officers might be Triple H? And like I said in the, when I was talking about the lawsuit a couple days ago, I would like to think, as dirty and disgusting and juvenile as Vince McMahon is, showing salacious nude or pornographic pictures of your sex slave to your son-in-law, to the husband of your daughter, Triple H might be off that list. Maybe Vince shows it to Brock and some of his other homies, but maybe that's something you would think would be out of bounds for a son-in-law. But then again, nothing is out of bounds for Vince McMahon if you just read that lawsuit. He has no bounds. So nothing is surprising. And I try to think about the best ways to put this without sounding like insensitive about it at all, because I'm not trying to be. You have to. I feel bad I feel bad for the people there that had nothing at all to do with this, that are just there trying to work, feed their families, have their careers, and live their lives. And it's not their fault that the head of the company that pays them is a complete scumbag piece of shit. The company employs about 1,000 people. And there's a lot of those people that really are completely innocent in this matter. And then there's others that are in that gray area, and that's where I don't really know what the right answer is. I mean, obviously there is one right answer. If anybody enabled this, if anybody was aware of these specifics, like they know what Vince is doing to this girl and they're not helping her, they're not saying anything, then I think they need to be held accountable. They need to be swept out. And you could say, well, they were worried about their own jobs. If they rat him out, then maybe they could be fucked over. I mean, I understand that, but this, sometimes some things are bigger than just a job when somebody's life could be on this person being abused, And so, when you enable this or when you allow it to happen, you're creating a culture. So they might want to just clear this culture out completely, even if it means removing people that weren't necessarily guilty, but weren't necessarily helping out with anything either. And I don't even know if it's necessary, if you necessarily even have to know about it. They might not even care about that. Like, I believe if you knew what Vince was doing, you knew this girl, you knew what he was doing to her, and you had any inclination at all, if even one of the details in that 67-page lawsuit you were aware of and you didn't say anything, then you need to go. But a lot of people like myself, all of you, and a lot of people have been around Vince, we've always known that he's a pervert we've always known he is that way. So is Jerry Lawler. So is Ric Flair. Both of them. Jerry Lawler's had rape charges brought up against him. Ric Flair has had lots of sexual harassment accusations against him, to the point where documentaries have been made about the whole subject, and wrestlers have had terrible behavior before in terms of their treatment of women and the way they act. But some of the details in this lawsuit is like a whole different, another level of that. So, you could argue that, yes, we knew what Vince did. We knew he had women. We knew he was perverted, but we didn't know anything illegal was going on. We knew disgusting things were going on, and someone with no moral compass whatsoever, that type of thing, and the infidelity and the multiple girlfriends and that type of thing. But we were all under the assumption that all of that was consensual. We didn't know about all of this, so then you're like, well, you're his son-in-law, or with Bruce, you're on the plane with him, fucking 6 hours a day. You're always with him. Like, how do you not know any of this? He's not bragging to you about this. And Bruce and Vince, especially, I think I'd be more worried about Bruce than I would be Triple H. And again, this is all I do is speculate here. I'm talking out of my ass, and don't take anything that I say as fact, because none of this stuff I really believe. I'm just saying maybe these are the cases, and with Bruce, he's very close with Vince, and Bruce has told some pretty crazy Vince McMahon stories on his podcast. And you don't think their relationship is close enough for Vince to be like, you wouldn't believe what I did. I shit on this girl's head last night, or I don't know, or show Bruce pictures. You don't think he might be one of these people? Kevin Dunn bounced the fuck out of there. Wouldn't be surprised if he was. And I don't know how one of these people can't be Triple H, to be honest, because of, how close Triple H was with Vince. But then again, Triple H is happily married to Vince's daughter. And why would Vince corrupt that, So, I'm hoping that Triple H is safe. And as it said here in the PW Insider report, Ari Emanuel, he will do anything to take care and to protect his businesses. Well, one of the things that is going to help protect WWE in the long run is solid creative, and I worry that Triple H is going to fall right in that gray area. I feel like Triple H, here's what I think in my heart of hearts. I feel like Triple H honestly was unaware of how gross Vince McMahon was, but was also not surprised when he found out. That type of thing. Like with Triple H, I just think Triple H knows without having any concrete proof. Like I personally don't believe Vince McMahon has told Triple H about what he's doing to Janelle Grant. He might be aware of the relationship. He might be aware something's going on there, but he might not be totally aware of any wrongdoing, but he might suspect it. And maybe when he learns everything and he's like, oh, that makes I didn't know it was that bad, but reading this, that's what I said. That was what I said on the first day. I said, reading all this, as disturbing as it is and how I had to stop reading it 3 times, it's still not surprising because Vince is a fucking freak. So I feel like if the fans know he's a freak, you would think his own goddamn family is well aware of this behavior. And I've also read some random reports that, Shane McMahon was always opposed to this behavior. Stephanie McMahon has always been well liked by corporate executives and whatnot. So I'm hoping that Vince's behavior does not ruin the lives and create a wake of destruction in his path. And I'm not absolving or condoning, knowing about Vince's behavior and not doing anything. Anybody that enabled that should be gone. I completely agree. But it also sucks that Vince McMahon put these people in that position to begin with, because some of them might not even be bad people. They just kept it quiet. They should have known better. It was fucking stupid. And now you might have cost yourself a job and a career for that. And it might be a lesson to the world and other companies and the people who do survive in WWE, that if anything like this goes on and you're a witness to it, you come forward. I mean, even in the, that was basically, honestly, Joe Paterno, right? And help me out with the story there. You guys might know it better than me, but Joe Paterno, head coach of Penn State football team for years and years and years. And that guy, that assistant coach, was molesting boys. It had been brought to Joe Paterno's attention in the past, and he didn't do anything about it. And then when the big scandal broke, of course, that guy, I forgot what his name is now, he was arrested. He's in jail either for life. He might have already died, or maybe somebody killed him in jail. I don't remember. But Joe Paterno was fired. He left Penn State, and he And he died a heartbroken man, and I felt horrible for him. Yes, he should have said something. Yes, what the fuck? You knew this was going on. Why didn't you do more? But he was also an old man, and I felt really bad and then he died. He was invited to a wedding I was the best man of. Because the bride was a big Penn State graduate. She worked there and she knew the Paternos, and he couldn't make the wedding, but he did send a present. It was right there from Joe Paterno. And when all that happened, I'm like, yeah, he did make his mistakes, but ultimately, he wasn't the one committing the crime here. It was just, it was this asshole's behavior and him putting these people in this position of maybe having to make a bad decision. I should have said something. So if anything, I think it might be like a Joe Paterno situation with Triple H, and which sucks because then if you're Ari Emanuel, you have to balance. Okay, Triple H, he didn't know about everything, but he knew about a little. If I fire Triple H, I'm going to have to install a new head of creative, and we know that could be a fucking disaster, an absolute disaster, because anybody underneath Triple H who might take over in that role, that's going to be a big shoes to fill, and it probably won't be Bruce, because if Triple H goes, you would think Bruce would go too. And if that's the case, then maybe even, more inner circle people are gone. And now you've lost your core, so losing your head of creative and losing, core people, yes, that's rebuildable, but your product and your business could take a severe hit in the meantime during this rebuilding. If now you've got a creative, somebody in head of creative who is new to the job and is not as good at it. And then the product goes back to suffering again. And then you blink your eye and we're right back to 2019 again, and WWE's got that deal with Netflix that does have an opt-out after 5 years. And so if WWE's product is the shits for the next 5 years, that could potentially be a 20-year deal for them if they stay for 10 and then extend another 10. So that 20-year potential deal could be reduced to 5 if their product shits the bed. So Ari Emanuel is going to, might have to make a difficult decision. Okay, maybe I should fire him, but he's done just enough to where I could justify not firing. And then after it goes away and we've taken other steps to get rid of other people, repair our image, and then, eventually people will start coming around, because even Vince McMahon, all the shit we learned about him in the first report, that Wall Street Journal report that was first issued, was gross enough. It was the lawsuit that revealed the details. The Wall Street Journal was just like, hey, Vince has been a pervert. He's been paying chicks, just so you know. And that led to him leaving. And then the controversy behind him getting in is another thing that I think is going to hurt potentially Triple H. Because if they would have kept him out originally, I think everybody in WWE would be in a much better position right now, where if he was just gone right after that scandal broke, and he's been gone since right after, since the summer of 2022, so about a year and a half now, he's been gone that whole time, never muscled his way back in, never pulled that power play to manipulate the board of directors to get voted back in, which I think is going to make people in Vince's, corner there vulnerable to their jobs, especially, I think Triple H voted for Vince to go back in, right? I think Vince was stocking it with people that would vote him, and it was just a power play to get back in. If you took all of that away and Vince actually did retire and went away forever, I think just removing, and then kind of stayed on as maybe a figurehead or whatever, just removing him then and being gone forever then, if all this came out now, it would have been like, well, Vince has been gone from the company for a year and a half. But just a few days ago, he's standing next to The Rock and Triple H at the New York Stock Exchange and the TKO people. And I'm like, he's still there. If you just would have gotten rid of him when all of this started, when we hear the details about this lawsuit now, it would be a little bit more distanced from WWE because Vince McMahon isn't there. And that motherfucker has screwed this company so badly, so many times in a lot of different ways, but maybe no more than ever than when he got and muscled his way back in at the end of the year before, last year, whenever that was, and got back in. And then the sale happened. And, Ari Emanuel, I don't know how he didn't maybe know about this stuff, but I've kind of speculated that the plan probably was always that they know stuff's out there about Vince McMahon. They know stuff's probably going to come out about Vince McMahon. So let's get the company, get in control of it. And then once we're in control of it, we can push him out. And that's kind of what we've been in the middle of right now. But then the details of this lawsuit hit, and now he's just flat out gone, where I think maybe the process was going to take a little bit longer. But, a lot of people did feel that Vince got played. A lot of people do feel that Ari Emanuel is smarter than Vince and manipulated his way to get his hands on his company, and then he can just force him out. And it was going to be hard to get rid of Vince, who was really struggling and kind of refusing to leave. He's the exact type of guy that would come out. He claimed he won an election, that he got his ass kicked in. He's exactly that type of person. He refuses to leave, and he was defiant. He was at that farewell tour. Thank you, Vince, and all this stuff. I mean, it's disgusting. So coming back, I think hurt the company more, because it put Vince McMahon still associated with not only WWE, but their new company, TKO. And if he just would have left in 2022, his name wouldn't be attached to them at all. So Vince McMahon is a son of a bitch, and he did not do anything. This guy that seemed to care so much about the WWF and his WWE and his universe and all of that did nothing to preserve its legacy. If anything, tarnished it and fucked it up. Why? Because he's horny. Way too horny. I don't know what the fuck happened to that guy in those trailer parks in North Carolina, but he is a disturbed individual. A very, very disturbed individual. So much so that he worked his balls off for 40 years to build an empire, only to tear it down because he defecated on somebody's head. What a piece of shit, man, this guy. And I really hope that when we learn more, that the key components that provide the type of content that we see in WWE are not guilty of any crimes here, and certainly aren't guilty of any sort of coercion or cover-ups or enabling or anything like that, because I would be heartbroken. And, maybe it could go in the opposite direction. You would think that the company's not going to want anybody with the last name McMahon around, but we have heard of, maybe this could open up the door for Stephanie McMahon to come in, but Stephanie McMahon is Vince McMahon's daughter. Triple H is his son-in-law. What if Shane McMahon wanted to come back into the company? All these people might individually have great reputations and might be well-liked, but they got that name. They're attached to their dad. They know their dad. They love their dad, and you feel like it would be until Vince dies, they're going to be constantly asked questions. What's Vince up to these days? How do you feel about that lawsuit? And how do you talk about that when it's your dad? I could not imagine if my dad was served with a lawsuit and I read it and had those details in it. I don't know what I would say to him. I'm like, well, you're my dad, but fuck, dude. How am I supposed to even have a relationship with you now? So I don't know. I don't know how that, I don't even know that works. I don't know, but it's ugly. It's weird. It's probably not over. And for the sake of the WWE product, even though that's not the most important thing here, the most important thing here is the safety of WWE employees, specifically women, going forward in the future of this company. But I hope that whatever TKO and Endeavor does to start the healing and moving on process from this, that it does not affect creative. Like, basically, I'm just saying I don't want Triple H to lose his job. That's what I'm saying. I guess I should come out right and say it and stop tap dancing around it. I don't want Triple H to lose his job unless we find out that he knew all about this and one simple phone call could have helped this girl or whatever, and he didn't do it. I don't know why, out of fear to Vince McMahon. It might be a career thing. I can take this company over, but I got to play the game with the old man for a little bit longer until he's gone. So maybe that's something that Triple H wasn't willing to do. I don't know. I don't know. It's ugly. I'm glad I don't work there. That's for fucking sure. And if you do work there right now, and let's say you are in that gray area, Vince did say something to me one time, or shit, I did see him coming out of Denny's with two waitresses and, they went into a porta potty, or something like that. If somebody knows something, or maybe even saw Vince one night with Janelle and maybe witnessed something that might have been a little bit weird, but didn't say anything, they've got to be wondering, oh man, I think I'm corporate officer number 3, those people have got, like, how do you do your job? How do you do your job knowing that, oh man, they're going to bust me any day now. They're going to come, my phone's going to ring, there's going to be a knock on my door or something like that. Who knows? And then Vince McMahon, of course, he's got a lot more to worry about if anything criminal comes up here. If this is criminal court or criminal charges are brought up, then that's a whole nother deal. But, Vince McMahon, I'm assuming, is going to settle here. Otherwise, his ass is going to have to get on the stand, and he's going to have to refute this stuff. And with his mumbling ass, I don't think he's going to do a very good job of doing that. And plus, that would just be more attention on you and how fucking disgusting you are. Because even in Vince McMahon's statement that was issued by his lawyer, he ain't denying the relationship. He's just denying some of the specifics. They're malicious exaggerations, that type of thing. So he ain't denying the relationship. He's just saying, I didn't treat her that bad. But I don't know about you guys, but I believe Janelle. So it's an ugly day in WWE, and hopefully the ripple effect of this won't have too much of an impact on, the content that the fans consume. But if it has to, then it has to. At the very least, this is the beginning of something new. Even if TKO's got to fire a bunch of people, including Triple H or close people to him or whatever, that's just what you have to do. And from there, it's just about rebuilding. But in a perfect world, I would like to see Stephanie come back. I would like to see Shane come back. I always thought they were going to take over the company anyway. And Shane's got a great reputation. That the boys love him. The talent loves him. We've heard, he left and got away from WWE purposely because of, maybe this behavior of Vince McMahon, and Stephanie McMahon is really well liked in the corporate setting too. The wrestlers like her and everybody she works with likes her. And so Shane and Stephanie have good reputations despite the fact that their dad is a fucking maniac. They have families, large families. Both of them have got a whole litter of kids. Both of them, I think, right? So they seem to be doing well, and they seem to be good, upstanding, respectable people for the most part. Occasional testicles on the car battery aside, for the most part, they're pretty, G-rated. So maybe... Well, I guess they're not G-rated, are they? Maybe they can come back in the future, but again, you're bringing people in with the McMahon name, and so that might be something that is like a year away. What's the corporate strategy? What's the cleanup strategy here? Get rid of a bunch of people, let that be known, get that out there in the press. We've fired this person, we've changed company policies, we've moved away from Vince. And I think it's, Netflix, I don't think is going to dump them on this deal because this was all Vince. I mean, even though people knew about this, and I'm sure there's going to have to be some people held accountable, it's not like this was the entire WWE. This was one fucking maniac. And not everybody can be punished for one maniac. Just the people who helped him should. So I think that it would be pretty easy for them to move past this now that Vince McMahon was immediately removed. He's gone forever. They are already, they're under new ownership now, and they are changing the company perspective. And then you wait a year for everything to blow over, and then you give Stephanie a job as chief something or other officer and give Shane a title, and they're back there, and it's Shane and Stephanie and Triple H, and, the family kind of still runs the show. But that's all assuming all of these parties here are innocent in the Vince McMahon behavior. But man, it's been a week. I have been up here 6 out of the last 7 days, I think, doing streams. It's been big. And I'm currently putting together a massive WrestleMania season. So we're going to have a big WrestleMania week here on the channel, videos every day. I've got collabs coming. I have a lot of stuff coming for, the month leading up to WrestleMania, because last year I went to WrestleMania and, I didn't do a whole lot on the channel. This year I want to make WrestleMania season count, and I want to be up here with special videos every day. And WrestleMania week and weekend, we're going to go balls to the wall. We're going to be here for SmackDown and Hall of Fame reviews and watch parties on night 1 and night 2 and reviews and post Mania Raw reviews. We're going to be here doing everything WrestleMania week. So make sure you subscribe. I'm going to be getting out of here, but not before I go back to the chat now and just answer any super chats that are here and anything else interesting. Okay, so 3 kids each. So not quite a litter. I was thinking they had like 4 each. So 3 girls, 3 boys. Love that they all had the same sex kids. That's crazy. That's going to be a fun. I kind of feel bad for the cousin dynamic there, because it's always great when you have a boy cousin if you're a boy and a girl cousins if you're girls, just to hang out and be friends with. They're not going to have much in common. So yeah, this Sunday is Vengeance. Yeah, that is true. Shit, we might have to be going head to head with Vengeance on our watch along. I think this Sunday we're going to start WrestleMania watch alongs. Unless we do something before we do. We might do a WCW show first. I'll take a look at the calendar and post the link for that this week. Oh, sorry about that, Zombie Fighter. It won't let me super chat it for some reason or not. Well, not the link won't work, but it's too bad promos. Yeah, that's where I've tried to do that before. I've actually tried to super chat people and it wouldn't let me do it either. And I can't remember what I was doing wrong, but I figured it out. I'm sorry about that there, Jacob. Deshaun Robinson, appreciate that $5, dude. Here's my thing. When this Vince situation took place, wasn't Triple H dealing with his health issues? Like Triple H had heart surgery in 2021. Yes, but I don't think that would really matter because a lot of the details in the lawsuit was detailing things from 2019 and from times before that. But I forgot about Triple H's situations there. So his absence during that period, that actually might help him. Maybe some of the really gnarly stuff was going on when Triple H was dealing with that. Plus, Triple H was dealing with that. So, Triple H has got his own problems, his own health concerns. I don't know if Vince McMahon is really going out of his way to make Triple H aware of the disgusting behavior he's doing when he's dealing with his own health issues. And what's not good for your heart? Stress. And I worry about Triple H, for that reason. Not only what's going on here, but just being head of creative and having that pressure, especially now that, when you're head of creative back in the day, you were the boss, so it didn't matter. Can't fire yourself, but Triple H's performance, will be dependent on how long he has that job, or how long he has that job will be dependent on how he performs. So the upper management will get rid of him if the product suffers, and that's got to be a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. Let's see what else we got. All right, I think I got all the supers. Oh, Chris Ludex got one. Appreciate that $5 from earlier, man. Considering Punk was hurt versus Moxley, who used a double arm DDT and got hurt from Drew's Future Shock DDT, he should never take a double arm DDT again. I wasn't aware with the Moxley injury. Did he get hurt on the double arm? Or you're just saying Moxley uses one? But yeah, that would be really shitty. Oh, man. Yeah, a lot of people have been making, I thought about the WrestleMania 32 comparison as well because of the injuries that year. But what makes this year different, and that's something I mentioned earlier, is that I am confident, like at least WWE, they've but this happened at probably one of their best times in history to deal with this. Because unlike WrestleMania 32, that was a shitty time in the company. And nothing was really that great then. But now, with the deep roster they have and with plenty of people who are over or could be warmed up or elevated at any time, you've got enough there to where I'm not too worried about the quality of WrestleMania. I'm very uncertain about how some of these matches are going to go and that type of thing. And I'm bummed out about CM Punk and I'm worried about Seth Rollins, obviously. But I think overall, WrestleMania will be a solid show, even with the loss of Punk. Even with the loss of Punk, I have full confidence because we weren't going to have Punk anyway. 3 months ago, Punk wasn't on our WrestleMania radar. So all we did was lose something we didn't think we were going to have anyway. So I still think there's plenty of exciting things they can do at WrestleMania, a challenger for Seth. You got that Money in the Bank briefcase still you have to worry about. That could all be a big night one thing. And then you have Cody and Roman doing the story at the end. Plus, you have to think about Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, what they might do. They had their little showdown in the Rumble, and they made a point to show you that pullback wide shot of the two of them face-to-face with that WrestleMania banner. So that makes me wonder if we're either going to get a one-on-one match between those two, or if maybe they team up and take on the Kabukis for the tag team championships. Although the way Shayna and Zoe are being put over, I think that might be pegged for them. But if Bianca and Jade teamed up, oh my God. But I never thought they would put the two of them right together right away. I thought that would be almost a little bit too obvious. I'm like, Jade and Charlotte might be more fun for a first opponent, just a super athletic, strong women. Not that Bianca's not, but I felt like maybe Charlotte would make a little more sense for a first opponent, but Charlotte's hurt. So her and Jade hooking up in the Rumble there, they wouldn't have shown the WrestleMania banner if maybe they didn't have plans for that. Plus, that would look really good on the card. I think a one-on-one match between the two might be more intriguing, but if they teamed up and won the tag team titles, the visual of those two holding up the tags would be pretty awesome as well. So we will see. But I have got to get out of here now. I am tired. We've been streaming now for 2 hours, 2-hour Raw review. Who would have thunk it? I'm going to get out of here now, have some dinner with Elizabeth. We're going to watch a movie and chill out. And I got to wash my crusty butt. So you guys take care. I want to thank you for a great week, by the way. Last week was nuts. We were up here a lot with the Raw review on Monday. And then the next day we did the Rock and TKO and Raw and Netflix video, along with the Hulkamania 40th anniversary video. Then on Thursday, the lawsuit dropped and we came up here for an hour and mumbled about that. And then on Friday, we talked more about it and predicted the Rumble. And then on Saturday, we watched the Rumble. We were here streaming for 5+ hours. And then I took yesterday off to watch the football games. And here we are back tonight. It's been a wild week, a crazy one. And this is an ever-evolving story. So if we get more details from WWE about the Vince McMahon stuff, if we learn any more, or if there are any more implications or perhaps, consequences, or we get any more news about this that's significant, I'll be up here to talk about it ASAP. Other than that, I'm going to take a look at my schedule this week, figure out when you're going to see me again. Obviously, Saturday for the podcast, but you might see me before, and I wouldn't doubt at all if you see some mic drops hitting the channel. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your Monday night, and I will be catching you